Hey Flower Tribe, it's Kelly Lehman from Cranbury Fields Flower Farm, and today we're talking peonies. I want to give you guys some great peony tips for planting them in your gardens. And if we haven't met yet, it's nice to meet you. My name is Kelly Lehman. I'm the owner of Cranbury Fields Flower Farm here in Cranbury, New Jersey, and I love giving you guys fun, free flower tips. So please feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell notification so you know whenever I post another fun free flower tip video. So thanks for tuning in live. I see some of you have joined us already. Thank you for that. I'm trying to go live every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. for the season of spring because I love answering your garden questions live. I try to get to as many comments as I can, that the questions that you've asked me on my YouTube videos and on Instagram, but sometimes there's a lot and I can't always get to all of them. So I'm sorry if I haven't gotten to yours yet, but please feel free to tune in live 10:30 on Thursdays and I'll try to answer them live. And I also started a Facebook group. It's called Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe, and it's a Facebook group, and gardeners from all over the world are answering each other's questions on there. So please feel free to post your own garden pictures on that channel, and you can also ask your questions, your garden questions, and then wonderful gardeners from all over the world have been responding and replying. And every now and then I wind up giving free seeds to people that are posting questions and answering each other's questions. So that's the story. I'll put a link to that in descriptions below, and you can hop on over there and say hi to us on Instagram also. So thank you for joining me. I decided to call the live series Coffee with Kelly. It actually came from one of our Flower Tribe members. I have to go back and see who actually gave me that suggestion, but it was in like one of the comments to the side. So I love when you guys give me your comments. I love when you say hi. Hey, Mason the Beast, how are you? Hey, Sharon Black, Rising Sun MD, nice to see you. So let's get into it, guys. So peonies. Usually people wind up planting their peonies in fall. That's like a really great time to plant your peonies, like 6 weeks before the frost. But now I want to let you know that you can plant your peonies also in spring. So I've planted a ton of peonies in spring after temps have warmed up. I usually wind up doing my planting of seeds and peonies that are like, brand new after the threat of frost. So this is what I usually do. I'll go to the garden centers, my local garden centers, and I'll find peonies that look something like this. I actually found this one in Home Depot yesterday. So I like to buy them when they're a little bit larger. I know sometimes you can find them, they're super tiny, but it just takes that much longer for them to grow. So if I can find them in the garden centers this size, I'll wind up scooping them up. And I know that peonies usually fly off the shelf. So what I'll do is I'll just keep these gals in my garage, and I'll water them. I make sure that, they have water, and I'll bring them out into the sunshine during the day when temps, aren't too cold. Like I'll bring them out when temps are even like 45, 50, it's usually fine. And I'll let them get a lot of sunshine. And then at night, I just kind of pull them back into the garage because like temps here dropped last night. It was freezing cold out. It was so cold. Let me know where you guys are viewing this video from, because I love to see where you're from, and let me know what the weather's been like by you, because in spring, like temps are like just like this roller coaster. And here's what happens if you have like a peony that's coming up now. There are some of these beautiful, I hope you guys can see these like little balls at the top of the plant, and that's actually going to be your flower. So if these guys are exposed to like extreme temps, like if it went down to like 30 degrees or 25 degrees, sometimes you'll notice that these little balls will actually turn black. And that means that you lost that bloom. That's like a form of like winter zap. And that's also what happens sometimes to your hydrangeas that are forming on that old wood and are starting to put out all that beautiful new growth. And then a crazy cold spring zap comes, sometimes those will freeze off. And listen, that's just nature. So a way to prevent this is you could have covered the plant like with a little bit of burlap or like some fabric overnight. That might have protected it. Sometimes I just, I have like hundreds of these going down my farm rows. So, usually I get some that get winter zap. Most of them will wind up giving me new peonies that come off the shoots, that haven't yet formed. So it's usually not that big of a deal. So what I'll do this time of year, when I want to put these in the ground, is I'll make sure that I find a super sunny spot. Now, peonies absolutely love sun. So if you have a spot that's full sun, definitely plant your peony there. Now, I have to tell you, I have a few friends that have peonies that are growing in locations that get like like some sun, but partial shade. And I'm shocked. But I have to say, Susan Mavoides, you have got some of the most spectacular peonies growing like underneath a tree. And all the garden blogs are like, don't plant them, with any kind of shade. But I have to tell you, she's got some spectacular ones going. So maybe it's just her golden touch. But for the most part, try to plant them in full sun. If you love peonies and you only have spots that have like partial shade, I don't know, give one a shot one year. You never know. Sometimes nature is funny like that. So, but full sun is best. And what you're going to do is you're going to go out and you're going to dig a hole, but not too deep. Now, the number one reason why people don't get peony blooms is because they are planted too deep. So basically, I want to show you like what a tuber looks like, and then we'll get back to this big mama again. I have all my little props here on my chair. So basically, peony tubers look like this when they're in the ground. This is kind of like where the root system comes from. And these guys are like little eyes that come up, and each of these little bumps is going to be a flower. Now, if you plant this with like 4 or 5 inches of soil over it, if you plant this with 4 or 5 inches of soil over it, chances are you're going to have beautiful green leaves, but the blooms are probably not going to come out because peonies like to be planted with only 1 or 2 inches of soil above those eyes. So that's the number one tip that I can give you. You can also plant these tubers this time of year. I went to Home Depot yesterday. I usually get my tubers from DutchBulbs.com. I love their stuff, and I usually get them in like fall, but I couldn't resist. I am like a Sarah Bernhardt peony like fanatic. So I've already got a lot of them, but I saw these yesterday. I had to scoop them up. So I found some tubers at Home Depot. I mean, they don't look that great because they're already starting to bloom they bloom like in the bag already, which is not the best thing, but I'm going to give them a shot. Sometimes if they're cheap enough, I'll just give them a shot. You can see like there's some growth over there. I usually like to buy them when it's just like a little tiny red nub coming up, and that's like super healthy. So if it's just like a little tiny red nub that looks more like, hold on, we'll show and tell here. If it's just like a little red nub that looks more like this guy, if you could see that, that's even better because it doesn't have that green growth coming in. It's just kind of like that little tiny red nubby guy coming off the plant. That would be the best way to kind of buy that tuber. But anyway, I bought a couple of them. I figured I'd throw them in. They were cheap enough. And but if you can, springtime, this is probably the better way to go. So if you're going to plant them in the ground, the tubers you just plant like, about with like 2 inches of soil over them. No more than that. You could even do like 1 inch, 1 or 2 inches of soil above it. But if you're planting the plant, the idea is to get it in the ground flush with like how the soil level here. So when you put this in the ground, don't plant it where the soil comes up to here because you're going to wind up burying that plant too deep. So try to get it flush, like kind of with the soil line here. Maybe dig down. As soon as you start seeing like these little, trying to get a better shot for you guys. Once you start seeing like these little like nubby guys, these little red guys on the bottom, that's where like those eyes are coming up. So you don't want to plant it, too deep. That's like a good sign. So if this is in the ground and it looks like this and you can see these little nubbies poking their head up, then that's a good sign. So don't plant them too deep. Once you get them in the hole, actually right before you put them in the hole, you can put a little bit of organic compost in there. So kind of mix that organic compost with the soil and, get like a really good like little mixture going there and then bury the plant. Sometimes you'll find that plants at the garden centers and the garden stores have what's called almost like the root systems are really, really tight. They're kind of like strangled in here because the plant got too big for the pot. So what you could do is when you remove this, make sure that you kind of loosen up some of those roots because sometimes it's called root bound. And when those roots are like totally root bound, it's hard for the water to get in there and it's hard for the plant to absorb the water. So gently, gently take out the peony plant. Sometimes I'll even give it like a good soaking the night before. It'll be in the pot. I'll give it a super good soaking the night before. This way I know that my peony is hydrated before it even hits the ground. So it's super happy. I want to make sure that I don't stress it out by putting like a dehydrated plant into a fresh setting because it's going to be like, are you kidding me? Like I'm thirsty over here and now you put me in a whole new environment. So I would definitely soak the plant the day before, and that will also kind of loosen up the soil. So when you lift it out, it's easy to kind of very gently tease those roots. And then you could put it in the hole that has some of that good organic matter, mix it up with the soil, bury it. Once again, not too deep. I mean, I don't know how many times, I'm going to stress that. I know I'm making you guys a little crazy, but yeah, don't bury too deep. And then just water it in. And you want to make sure that with any new plant that you're putting in your garden, you want to make sure that you keep it moist, at least the first maybe week or two, because it's just figuring out how to get that root system going, and it's just getting established. So it needs some babying, but you want to make sure that you don't flood these plants, especially peonies, because if you keep a ton of water on it and you don't have good drainage in your soil, you can wind up rotting out that tuber. And you don't want to do that. So make sure that you kind of have like a really good, well-drained soil. Keep it moist the first, couple weeks, and then just kind of keep an eye on it. And that's a super way to kind of get them in the ground. So that's the story with getting those plants planted. And I want to thank Anne-Marie Gibson, who is she sponsored our caffeine cup today. So I have a new thing where if you like some of the tips I'm giving you guys and you like to buy me a cup of coffee, there is a link in descriptions below. And Anne-Marie Gibson, I want to thank you for sponsoring this morning's cup of coffee. So thank you for that. Quick coffee break, everybody. Let me take a look at some of your questions here. Okay. Oh, great. Hack Proof, you said, can you talk about Ito peonies? Yes. Okay. Ito peonies are awesome. And I'm just starting to figure them out. One of the varieties that I love is called Bartzella. And these are like these giant blooms that are on, it's like a mixture between like a tree peony and a herbaceous peony. So actually those tips that I just gave you now are for peonies that are considered herbaceous peonies, like Sarah Bernhardt's and a lot of like the double blooms. But there's also a variety called Ito, and basically it's like a cross between the herbaceous and the trees. Same tip goes for that. You don't want to bury those too deep, but I have seen gardeners recommend, I don't know, some of them said to make sure that they're actually like grafted together. So you have, it's almost like I said, the tree peony with some of the herbaceous peony on it. And if there's a graft section on there, they said you should make sure that that's definitely buried. So I have a few of them that I planted. They didn't bloom terrific for the first 2 years, but that kind of goes with most peonies. So same thing with herbaceous peonies. If you plant your herbaceous peony this year, you might not get blooms. I mean, there's a chance that you might, especially if it has some buds on them already, like this guy did. But the rule of thumb is when you put those peonies in the ground, sometimes they take up to 2 seasons to give you blooms. So be patient. And the same thing happened with my Bartzella. I had like these beautiful blooms the first season because I kind of bought them from, the garden center like that. And then I didn't get anything for like the next year. But basically the same rule of thumb, you plant them, you add that organic compost. They're supposed to give you, I mean, the ones that I bought had said on the package, will give you hundreds of blooms all season long because apparently they continue to bloom. So usually with the peonies, the herbaceous peonies, you kind of get that beautiful, gorgeous burst at like the end of May, June, and then it's kind of over. But the Ito peonies are supposed to give you like blooms for like weeks and weeks and weeks longer. So let me know, have any of you guys like tried those yet? Because there's a lot of varieties out now. They're like, like the hot kid on the block. So let me know what you guys think about those. Hey, Jill Palumbo, one of the Cranbury kids, one of my favorites. Love you, girl. Let's see, Joanne McGo, you mentioned having soil an inch or two above. Does this also, mean the mulch? Joanne, brilliant question. Thank you. It does not mean the mulch. So this is a super point you brought up. A lot of times people will do the correct planting and they'll just bury it with an inch or two above. And then they'll go in and they'll put mulch on top and they'll add like another 2 or 3 inches of mulch. And that will also prevent your blooms from happening. So I'm so glad you brought that up. So the rule of thumb is this: get your peony in the ground, after temps warm up and there's no more threat of frost, and you're going to sprinkle some mulch around it because that helps keep the moisture in, it helps keep the plant happy, but you're going to make sure that you kind of pull the mulch back. So if the base of your plant is here and this is in the ground, you're going to wind up putting your mulch around the outside of it. You're going to make sure that you don't pile up that mulch on top of those eyes, on top of these stems, because that's going to be the same thing as planting it too deep. So always, whenever you're planting, whenever you're laying mulch, it's kind of the same rule for hydrangeas too, or most plants. Always lay it around the base of the plant, almost like where the drip line starts. So never put it exactly on top of the stem. Sometimes I'll go to people's gardens and they've got the mulch like piled up on top of a plant stem. And what it does is that causes a lot of like fungal issues. So you don't want to have those fungal issues. Most plants like to have a lot of aeration. So yeah, keep that mulch pulled back and let your plant breathe. So Joanne, bless you. Thank you for that. I forgot to give that little tip. So let's see who else has something. Melanie, hello. Life's a project. Hi, everyone. Hey, thanks for checking in. Oh, Ray, you're from Long Island. I grew up in Sable, Long Island, small world. What's the best time to divide? AJ says, what's the best time to divide a plant? Oh, awesome question. You have a Bartzella and I want to split it, but also wondering if it will delay blooms next season. So if you have, most of the time you don't have to divide your peonies. Now, peonies are known as like the 100-year plant. I mean, some of these plants have been known to live like 100 years. So if you're looking for like a really super easy, no fuss plant, peonies is your gal, and you don't have to divide them. But some people find that after like a decade or like after like 10 years, they may not be giving you as many blooms as they used to. And at that point, you may consider dividing it. So the best time of year is fall. You're going to go into your fall garden when temps cool off and the plant, is already dormant. It's already been died back for a while. And definitely water it first. You always want to baby your plants before you give them any kind of like changes. So you're going to make sure you give it some water. And then the next day, go out there and you can actually dig it up and you can divide it like with a very sharp spade. And then you can either gift, the half of that plant, or it depends on how big it is. So if you go in there to divide it, always make sure that you have like 2 or 3 eyes on each section that's left. So each section should have at least 2. Don't settle for just the one. You want to have at least 2 or 3 eyes or 2 or 3 new blooms that will come up. And you're going to either half it or quarter it, lift it, and then either gift it to somebody, or you can just, transplant it someplace else in your garden, and then you can keep multiplying your peony stash. So, but I would wait until fall to do that. Let me know if anyone's tried it in spring. I know usually fall is the best, and make sure that you do that at least 6 weeks before the first freeze, so that those roots can get established, and then you'll have brand new plants like the next year. So that's really cool. That was a great idea to bring up. Oh, Diane Pearson. Hey, Diane, I see you a lot. I love when I see like similar people here. I see that you're also on our Flower Tribe page. So thank you, Diane. I think you answered some great questions this week for some of our members. So you said, can you tell me if any of your hydrangeas got zapped from the frost last night? I haven't been out to my hydrangeas. I have a feeling they did because it got so cold out here, and I had huge growth on some of my endless summers. So I've got some endless summers that are in a field that they're like late bloomers, so they didn't quite get that new growth just yet. So I have a feeling that they're safe. But my endless summers that started to have that beautiful, lush, gorgeous look, I have a feeling that they got winter zap, which means that a lot of those froze off. And what I should have did was I should have covered that hydrangea last night with some burlap wrap or like a sheet, and that would have protected those buds. But I was lazy and I didn't. And so I probably missed out on the first blooms, but I will keep you guys posted on that. And I actually am making a video. I need to edit it, and it shows exactly how to like wrap those plants. But basically you just put like some posts in the ground, and you can put like a piece of burlap wrap over it and just secure it with rocks, or you can kind of put like little zip ties around it, and that will protect it when temperatures plummet during spring, when those new growth buds are on there and those like 30-degree temperatures just freeze them off. That burlap, or even like a bed sheet, like an old bed sheet, that will also protect it. And sometimes people will surround their plants with chicken wire and fill it in with some leaves from like fall, like leftover leaves that are, crumpled up. And that will also protect some of those buds. So let me know what's going on with the weather in your neck of the woods. Once again, please let me know where you're viewing this from, because I love seeing where you guys are from. Hey, Lisa. Lisa R., what's the best NPK fertilizer you've made? I have to tell you, fertilizers are, my mind spins when I see fertilizers. I usually don't use a lot of fertilizers here at the farm. I have to say I have really good soil because we used to have horses, and my neighbors have horses, and it just seems to be like super nutritious. And this is what I've been reading on a lot of the garden blogs and the garden, channels and stuff. And let me know what you guys think. The biggest thing that I see suggested as far as peony fertilizer is a low nitrogen composition. So like that first number on like those fertilizer bags, like if it says like 10, 10, 10, you want to make sure that that first number is a little bit lower than the second number, because the first number is nitrogen and that promotes beautiful green leaves. So if you fertilize your peony with a super high nitrogen fertilizer, you're going to wind up having gorgeous green leaves, but you might not have the blooms. The second number on your fertilizer bag is going to be the phosphorus, and phosphorus is the one that is in charge of like giving you like big blooms. So you might wind up having a fertilizer, if you can find one, that says something like, say, like 10, 20, 10, and that would probably be a good choice. I know other people swear by bone meal, and this is the first year in like 15 years that I'm actually fertilizing something like this one row I have of peonies. I have a whole bunch of them, but like some of them I've never fertilized. So I just gave them bone meal. And apparently bone meal is a really good fertilizer too. And I know some people swear by bulb fertilizer. So those are the three that I keep saying. And they say that you should put the fertilizer around your like established peonies when they're like, you know, like maybe like an inch or two tall as they're just starting to come up. And I've seen other gardeners that love the tip of fertilizing it when those buds start. So like this would be the best time. I've seen some people say, wait, hold off on your established peonies, wait till you start seeing like those little tiny balls. And once you start seeing it start to like develop those, then you would fertilize it. So two different schools of thought. But usually it seems to be like if you can fertilize in spring, that seems to be the best. So let me know if you guys have any fertilizers that you love, because I love learning from you guys. I really do. So John Curtis, you're from Chicago. Thanks for checking in. And let's see, Rachel Barger, hope I said your name right. Hey, how are you? Oh, sure. Oh, sure. You're very welcome, Elise, for that. Let's see. Somebody asked about moving. So I'm sorry, like the live chat goes up. Somebody asked about moving. Oh, I can't see your question. I'm sorry. I blew it. It was about moving your flower to another location in the garden. I think there was a problem with sun. So if you can, once again, try to find the most amount of sun that you can in your garden. If it gets a little bit of afternoon shade, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So maybe just, you know, try it out. And if it has to be moved, you can try it. If a peony doesn't have to be moved, you know, they say that you really shouldn't move them. But once again, my friend Susan Mavoides, she's the one that had the one that grew in the shade. I think she moved about, I don't know, like 80 plants about 3 years ago. And they had like a house construction going on. And she literally had to move like 80 peony plants in fall. And she moved them and they all bloomed the next year. I was like, what is going on in this backyard? I'm actually going to take you on a tour of her peony patch this spring, because they're phenomenal. They're just amazing. So the rule of thumb is you shouldn't move a peony plant if you don't have to, because usually they're unhappy, but I don't know. I've seen it work. Okay. At least you like using banana peel tea. Please tell us about that, because I keep seeing that concept of like cutting up banana peels and using it in your compost. And it's supposed to be like this fabulous fertilizer for peonies and for hydrangeas. So I love that. Elise, I don't know if you're part of our, like, if you hop over to that face group page, I would love for you to like, I don't know, just like let us know how you do that on the Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because people swear by using banana peels in your garden. I'm going to try to figure that out this spring. So super. Wow. Let's see. Okay. Wow. Super Wonder Boy. You like using rose tone. Okay. That sounds great. I know a lot of people use rose tone also for hydrangeas. And I think the thing with rose tone is, I don't know that it has like a low nitrogen percentage, but someone told me it was like, you know, a woman named Lorraine, she wrote this great hydrangea book. She was saying that nitrogen gets sucked up into the plant faster than phosphorus. So sometimes rose tone is like the way to go. So, I mean, I'm doing a lot of experimenting here this year with the fertilizers. I didn't hear that for peonies yet, but I mean, I'll try it. Maybe I'll try like the rose tone on one. I'll try the 10, 20, 10 on another, and the bone meal on another, and maybe banana peel tea on another, and see which one does the best. So, that's terrific. Very interesting. Hi, Kelly. Is it okay to plant different peony types close together? Oh, that's a super question. Sure. I would just make sure that the spacing, I would space them out at least like maybe like 5 or 6 feet from each other, especially the ones that get super, super bushy, like the double peonies, like the Sarah Bernhardts, because if you plant them too close together, they wind up once again getting those fungal issues, and then they won't give you as many blooms or as large of a bloom that they can if they're too close together. But I've got some single, I guess they're called like the single petal peonies close to my doubles, and then I've got like Barzella Ito peonies right next to them, and it's like a whole like a whole little like series of all these peonies together. So absolutely, they can be planted together. Let's see who else is here. So, okay. So Elisa's telling I'm sorry, it's Elsa. Elsa is telling us that banana peels contain calcium, potassium, and phosphorus. All right. So that would uncover why they're so good, because once again, it's got that calcium, it's got that phosphorus. And so, good. So Elsa's giving us her tip right here. Bless you. So you'd want to soak your banana peels and cut them up and cover them in water. Okay. Let them sit for 3 to 7 days and then feed your plants. The same thing with eggshells. Great, because the eggshells have the calcium too. So I love that banana peel tea. That's awesome. Hey, Elsa, do me a favor. Send me your mailing address if you would like some free sunflower seeds, because I appreciate that tip, especially because I didn't know how to make the banana tea. Send it to my email if you like. It's Kelly Lehman at cranberryfields.com. And I'd like to send you over some free sunflower seeds. Thank you for helping our flower tribe. So guys, I love sending random Flower Tribe members seeds from our Facebook group and from our Instagram group and from YouTube. I really appreciate you guys helping each other. You're a terrific flower family. So thank you so much for that. That's amazing. Let's see who else. Anybody else have any other questions before we're kind of going to wrap this up? I also wanted you to know a terrific peony cutting tip as far as keeping your peonies lasting longer. So a lot of times peonies all blow up at like the same time. They all come into bloom and then they wind up, like going out super fast. If you need to save your peony blooms for something like a graduation or a birthday, I know my daughter Jill had graduated a few years ago from high school, and she really wanted to have a peony bouquet, but all mine were coming up in May and her graduation was in June. So a great florist tip or trick is you can go out and you can harvest your peonies. You can cut them when they're in like that marshmallow stage. So they're not that full blown, open look yet. And they're not that tight marbly stage, but they're kind of in that marshmallow stage where they're just starting to open up. You can cut the stems, do not put them in water, and simply wrap them in like craft paper or newspaper and put them in the refrigerator. And you can wind up taking these guys out of the refrigerator like 3 or 4 weeks later. You give the bottoms a little snip, like a 1-inch snip, and you put them in water and they will burst open and be absolutely magnificent. So just make sure that you don't have an older refrigerator that does that crazy like freeze, refreeze trick, as long as it's like one of, like a refrigerator that has like a steady temp, and keep them away from fruits and vegetables, because flowers don't like to be near fruits and vegetables because those give off like a gas that the flowers usually don't like. So that's a great florist tip. And a lot of you have also asked me, how do I keep my peonies from flopping over? Since they have such beautiful, gorgeous, thick, heavy heads, they'll flop over a lot once a rainstorm comes. You can surround them with like peony cages, or some people even put like tomato cages around them, but do that at a stage when they're kind of young, because it's easier to put that peony cage around it now, and then the plant will grow up into it. But if you already have like an established peony that's already big, it's okay, because some of those peony cages you can just kind of wrap around and they'll snap. And I have all these products that I talk about. I have an Amazon shop page, so you can check out the Amazon shop page and descriptions below. And I've got some peony cages there that Amazon sells, so you can just kind of scoop them up there. And let's see. I planted a peony root and the tip is peeking out of the dirt. Should it be covered? Oh, super question, Maria. No, I wouldn't cover that. Those peonies, like at that stage, are pretty hardy. The only time that I kind of cover them is when you get like the actual blooms. So like when you start getting them at like this stage, when like you see like the little actual, like the flower head. Let me get a better guy here. These flower heads are the ones that kind of freeze off because they're really delicate. But as far as if like just these guys are coming up here and you have like just like those little red guys, I don't think that they need to be covered. I usually don't cover mine unless you're in like a super, super, super cold place. Like if it's going to hit like 20 degrees, you know, or like 0 degrees, yeah, cover them. But other than that, like I will leave the rest of my plants out there when it's like 30 degrees, even 40 degrees. And if they're coming up, they're usually okay. They're not, it's not that big of a deal, especially if it's just for like one night. But if you want to play it safe, cover them. Let's see who else has any questions here. Let's see, Rachel, you said I planted 10 bare roots. Okay, so those are the bare roots like I showed you before, peonies 3 years ago. It's worth the wait. How they all, oh, now they're all full of buds. I used the banana peel and eggshell trick. Oh, that's great. So guys, keep in mind that like you might have to wait 3 years for those peonies, but it's so worth it. They take a while to get established. So just make sure that you have them in a sunny spot. They're not buried too deep. You keep up with the water, but yet don't drown them. And you guys should have some great peonies. So please feel free to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. I'll try to meet with you guys live every Thursday at 10:30 in spring. And let me know in comments below or on the side if there's any gardening topics that you'd like me to cover, because this channel is all about you guys and it's all for you guys. And I like to give you as much value as I can. And so that's it. So I will see you guys in the next video. I'll see you guys next week. Oh, I'm putting up a brand new video on how to plant zinnias soon, probably by this weekend. And I've got a great coupon code from a company that I love called True Leaf Market. So check that out. It's coming up within the next day or two. And it's a super fun video to show you how a really simple way to plant like all these zinnias that you're going to totally love. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care. And let me know where you're viewing this from, please. Bye.